Alright guys, so today we're going to be doing the final video in this Compact Comics comparison series. We are going to be talking about support and catalog, and by that I mean the publishers, how well they are supporting the compact comic format, and for catalog, just how robust and large each catalog for each publisher is, and kind of an idea of what you can expect when you're looking for books for compact formats from each of these publishers. So with that being said, guys, let's just jump right in. Okay, so first up we have DC Compact Comics, and we're going to be talking about the support that DC is giving this particular compact format. So I think they're doing really good, but there are a couple of small caveats that I have. So they are releasing multiple volumes every month. Some months you might get like only one title, but for the most part they're dropping at least 2 titles every month, and I think that is great support. I want to see heavy volume. I want to see a lot of compacts and a lot of stories being adapted. So when it comes to just sheer volume, sheer amount of titles that they are releasing, DC is doing a phenomenal job, and they're kind of setting the benchmark and the standard for how I would like to see compact titles releasing. Just a ton of volume. Now, I said there's some caveats. So, one, they're constantly releasing new titles and runs, but there are some titles that clearly need a volume 2 and beyond. For example, American Vampire. Right on the cover it says American Vampire Book 1. But as of now, there has been no announcement, no mention of when or if we will get a Book 2 in the run. And I believe in the last, well, not the last video, but one of the other videos that I've made, you can see we break it down. I think they have like 60 something issues in the run. I can't remember off the top of my head, but really they only need to make 5 or 6 more volumes and you would get the entire story run fully completed. And that's the kind of support that I want to see from compact formats across all publishers. But DC is guilty of not showing that kind of continued support when it comes to releasing titles that need follow-up volumes but still have not gotten them, and yet we still see them releasing new titles, pretty regularly. So it's kind of disappointing to not see DC support that and give us titles that we've actually probably been waiting on. And some people have picked up a compact format like, Gotham Central or American Vampire and thought, where's the rest of my story? And they deserve to get that in a compact format. It's just a shame that we haven't seen that kind of support from DC yet. And I think that's something they really need to improve on if they're going to stay one of the powerhouses in the compact formats lineup. Alright guys, so let's talk about Marvel's support for its compact lineups. And now they're currently running 2 at the moment. They have the Marvel Premier Collection and the Marvel Compact Editions. The support with them is kind of hit or miss. And by that, I mean, like, there are some titles in the Premier Collection that are one-and-done volumes, such as Civil War here, where you can read the one volume, and you don't get any of the tie-ins, but you get the complete mainline story, and that is fantastic. They do an amazing job with that. That's great. More titles like this, I think, would have really benefited the Premier Collection line. But then you also have titles here like Hawkeye, and Hawkeye, it stops right in the middle of its story run, and it is such a jarring way to end a volume 1 with no announcement, no mention, no talk of getting a volume 2 in this run, which oddly enough, that's all you would need in order to complete Matt Fraction's run on Hawkeye. So support there is a mixed bag. Some titles are great and they're standalone titles. They're good to pick up, they're good to read, they're fun, contained stories. But when they need follow-up volumes and they don't have them, it's a bit disappointing. Now, also, they're not releasing nearly the same amount of volume as someone like DC, who's releasing usually at least 2 titles every month. With Marvel, there's some times where a month will go by and you won't see a single title from the Marvel Premier Collection line. And then there's some months where you're only getting one title. And that seems to be kind of the norm. And it seems like they're kind of lukewarm on this particular format. Now, when we talk about the compact edition, it only has the one volume in the run. But I am hopeful because next year it seems like the compact edition is going to be getting a lot of love. Now, there will be more titles released for the Premier Collection as well next year, but really what I'm going to be keeping my eye on is the compact editions. Marvel is releasing more titles, and it seems like they're getting closer and closer to really nailing down a good compact format. So we're getting 2 more titles in the Spider titles with the origin story of Miles Morales and the origin story of Gwen Stacy. So I'm very, very psyched for those. Again, they're in the compact edition, so they're coming in at $10 a piece. Phenomenal pricing. They're doing really good. And those 2 titles aren't like short stories. They're the origin stories. So you'll feel like you're getting a good story arc. It's not like you'll be jumping around to different highlights for the character. I think that is a much better direction than what they did with Spider-Man Brand New Day here, where they just told a compilation of Spider-Man stories, just kind of giving you an overview of the character. Now, I am very psyched because they're also releasing the Ultimates lineup from the Ultimate series that just recently ended. They have also branded it in a way that has given me a lot of hope and optimism, calling it the Year 1 edition. Obviously, by branding alone, I'm jumping to conclusions, and I'm thinking, if we get a Year 1, well, why wouldn't we get a Year 2, right? Like, if that's the case, if we get a Year 1, we will get full, complete story runs if we get a Year 2. And I am so hopeful that Marvel is also kind of zeroing in on this and really trying to nail down this formula, because if they do that, I think they are going to be a true force in the compact format lineup, and they will be one of the powerhouses. And I'm so psyched about that, because I love Marvel, and I hate to come on here and talk about how kind of middle of the road they are right now. But honestly, I think next year will be the year to really keep an eye out for them when it comes to these compact formats, especially with the compact edition, because I am just so psyched at what I'm seeing, and it's got me hopeful that they're really going to be putting a lot of time and money into this lineup and really starting to nail what people want from these formats is long, completed story runs and full continued support. But as of right now, they are just kind of middle of the road, especially in their compact edition. There's only 1 title released, and you're going to have to wait till next year before you get another one in this particular format. So with Marvel, support, not really that great, but definitely keep an eye out for them, because I do think that they are really going to be hot next year. So next, let's talk about Image. Image's support is twofold. So, on the one hand, we have not many titles that are releasing for the compact edition, and they have a wealth of content. I mean, let's be real. You could imagine releasing Spawn in a compact comic format, and that would be phenomenal. Multiple volumes in the run, and that would be amazing. There's so many other titles that they could adapt into these specific compact editions. They have another compact edition that's called the New Editions, but they are a terrible value. I would highly recommend avoiding those at all costs. They're just not good value. If you want to learn more about that or hear my thoughts on it, you can check the first video in the series where I do the compact comics comparison talking about price and value, and I just think those are terrible, so we're not even including those. When it comes to these, this is the backpack edition, and I think it's only called that for the Paper Girls title. But next year, Radiant is getting a compact format in this exact format, I believe. Exact trim size, everything, paper quality, all that good stuff that I'm loving for these titles will be in the Radiant compact edition. So the cool part about this with their support they are telling entire story runs. So right here we have volume 1 and volume 2 of Paper Girls, with the third and final volume releasing in April of next year, doing what even the two big publishers in DC and Marvel have yet to do, and that is release entire story runs in their compact format when it comes to having a title that does require multiple volumes. Sure, DC is good at releasing titles that are kind of one and done. Even Marvel does that on occasion with their Premiere Collection, like I mentioned with Civil War. But when it comes to titles that, are released in those other publishers and they don't have continued volumes, it's crazy because Image has nailed that. Like I said, you're going to be getting the full Paper Girls run, and all you have to do is wait until April of next year, and you'll have the whole run, and it'll be all in the same format. And I think things like, or publishers like Image, even IDW, and even Volt Comics are doing such a good job of that. Actually, much better job than Marvel and DC are right now. That's why I think Marvel and DC really need to step it up. If those two can lock that down, they'll be a tour de force. They'll truly be in a league of their own. But as of right now, Image, IDW, and Vault are kind of leading the charge when it comes to that particular type of support. So the IDW Classic Collections. Oh man, these have been really, really cool. I like these. I think they are getting good multi-volume support for this run. It's just I haven't seen a ton of titles being adapted into it. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't start doing more in this particular compact format, which I am hopeful for, because I don't know about too many IDW titles. I'll be totally honest with you. I know they have a Godzilla book that's out now. I know that Lock and Key is going to be getting full support all the way through the entirety of its run, so you'll be getting multiple volumes. I know that there's like a Star Trek compact line in the classic collections. So they do have titles. It's just I'm not very familiar with IDW's titles that they have under their publisher. So I'm excited for them. I think there's a couple of really cool standouts that I would like to see, and I'm very, very curious how they will continue in the future and what titles that they have that they might be interested in adapting into a compact format. But from what I've seen so far, I think the support is good for what they have, and when it comes to the multi-volume support, I think it's phenomenal. They do a fantastic job, and again, when I talked about Image, I mentioned them. They're head and shoulders above Marvel and DC right now, and those are the two powerhouses. When it comes to releasing multiple volumes for titles that need it, they're already beating Marvel and DC hands down. So, yeah, I'm very impressed with that. I want to know more titles in their lineup that could be adapted into the compact format. All right, guys. So lastly, we have Vault Comics, the compact format that we have here in front of us. Boy, is this expensive. I'm kind of iffy on this lineup, to be totally honest, just because of the sheer cost of it alone. But who knows? If you're interested in some of these titles that they have, if you can find them on a sale, maybe that'll be, when they start to maybe get the hint that they need to kind of come down in price a little bit. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about support. So they have titles that have multiple volume releases. I believe one is called Money Shot. So it's a title I'm not very familiar with, but it seems like it's getting continued support. And that's what I've asked for across all these publishers, to give entire story runs in their compact formats. And it seems like even Volt Comics is doing that. Again, Image, IDW, and even Volt Comics are ahead of DC and Marvel in this part of the game, and I just don't understand that. You think the two powerhouses would have already locked in by now and really focused on this. But Vault is another thing, another one that I run into the same issue with, like the IDW titles. I don't know all the titles that are kind of under their umbrella, so I'm not sure exactly how well the support is for it. I'm not too certain of their titles. From what I've seen, they do have good support, and like I said, when it comes to multiple volumes in a run, they do a fantastic job of that. But yeah, I would say they're decent, but that price point man, that's a real negative for me, and I would say it's something to definitely keep your eye on if you're looking to pick up some Vault Compact comics. This title right here, Dungeon Crawler Carl, alone it's $20, and that's just way too high. All right, so when we talked about DC with the support, they were pretty good. You know, they're solid. They do need some work. They need improvements, and that's clear. They're not perfect. But when it comes to catalog, they are by far head and shoulders above the rest of the publishers on this list. By sheer volume alone, they have far more content out than any other publisher, and some even more than a couple other publishers combined. So it's super impressive to see DC's catalog. When you're comparing it with the other publishers, they stand far above all the other competition, and it's very impressive. I'm happy that they're still supporting the titles and adding new titles. Like I said, going back to support, I want to see them release more volumes that need to be released as follow-up volumes for stories that we already have out. And I think that once they do that, then DC will be like cemented as one of the mainstays for compact comics. They're already a standout, but this way it would just be so much more reassuring to know that they're just keeping their foot on the gas and staying as one of the top players in the game. So that's what I would like to see from them. As far as catalog goes, they're second to none. Okay, so let's talk about the catalog or the library of titles that Marvel currently has for the Premier Collection and the Compact Edition. Let's just get the Compact Edition out of the way right up front. There's one title. It's this title. It's Spider-Man Brand New Day, and you're not going to get another title in this lineup until next year, when they do look like they will be giving you some really good support for it. So, like I said, keep your eyes peeled for that for next year. But as of right now, the catalog is abysmal. It's one title. With the Premier Collection, you have more titles in the run, but because they're not putting out a ton of volume and they don't have a lot of titles out, it's kind of a mixed bag. There are some titles already released that you think probably should have taken a back seat to other major players. Like, next year we're getting Thor and the Saga of Gore the God Butcher, but that should have been one of your earlier release titles. If not one of your launch titles, it should have been shortly thereafter. We've got titles like The Visions that came out before a Spider-Man title came out, and stuff like that is odd to me. So I think that their catalog is a mixed bag, but I do see it improving. Kraven's Last Hunt is coming out next year for the Premier Collection, and that's a story that I'm willing to break my rule for and pick that up in a Premier Collection. So we'll just have to see. But as of right now, the catalog is a mixed bag for the Premier Collection. Maybe the titles and the entries they have out now, maybe they speak to you and resonate with you. If that's the case, you'll probably find good value there. But for me, I just think it's kind of middle of the road Marvel, so middle Marvel. But I am hopeful for next year. I've got my eyes locked on them, and I really do think they're going to impress us. So let's just stay tuned and see what happens. All right, so when we talk about Image's catalog, we mentioned it briefly in the support section. They don't have many titles in the compact format run, or at least this particular compact format run that I want to see supported. It's pretty sparse. In fact, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, there is only Paper Girls. With Radiant Black coming next year in February, those are the only two titles that I'm aware of, and one has yet to be released. So it's not really a great catalog. You don't have much to choose from. I'm hopeful that we will see support for a much larger catalog in the future, where more titles will be announced to be adapted into the compact format, because I think this is phenomenal. I'm really, really loving this Image compact format. I love the paper quality. I love the price, and I love the fact that it does continued volumes. And the price, by the way, it's $13. $13, I think that's a steal for having the same trim size as a Marvel Premier Collection and having that nice paper quality like a DC Compact Edition. I really, really like that. I think it's kind of carved out a sweet spot for itself, and I think it's doing a great job. That's why I think that they really need to go all in on the support for this, because like I said, I'd love to see Spawn adapted. I know that Invincible and Saga have been released into the new editions compact that they have, but chunk that lineup. That lineup's terrible. Redo them, repurpose them into this format. put them in this compact edition. And I would love to see that. There's so many other titles that Image has done, even like one-off runs that you could have where like Wizard, I don't know if anyone remembers that particular run, but there's a lot of titles that Image has that I think would just work well. World Tree, you could throw that in there. I mean, there's so many things that they're kind of missing the boat on when they should be adapting these titles into a compact format edition. And let me know your thoughts. Are there some Image titles that stand out in your mind that you would just love to see in a compact format like this? Because, yeah, I think Image could really run away with this. But as far as it stands right now, the catalog's not looking too good. It's pretty sparse. So we actually touched on this, already in the support section, but their catalog, like I said, there's Godzilla, there's Star Trek, there's Dave, there is Lock and Key, there's some other titles. I believe they have on-the-go compact editions that are covering, what was it, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So they have titles. They have stuff. It is out. It is getting, full runs for the titles that they are releasing. So I think they're doing well. I'm not very familiar with all the titles that kind of fall under their catalog. So I would be curious and interested to see what all they have to offer. And I'm excited for IDW. I think the classic collections will be something to keep an eye on in the future. And I think they could really rise up in the ranks when it comes to these compact lineups and really start to surprise people and, get on a lot of people's radar, like mine, where it wasn't on there before. And thanks to the people who are commenting on these videos, letting me know about these titles, because I honestly wouldn't have looked or found them without the help of the community. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. All right, so Vault Comics Catalog. Like I said, I mentioned it in the support section. I'm not familiar with the titles that they have at that publishing company. I don't know, what they're all, have at the ready for them to adapt into a compact format. But I'd always like to see more compacts. I don't care, who the publisher is. Whatever titles you have, put them in a compact. All of them, any of them, everything you can think of, put it in a compact. I'll try it. That's how much I love these compact lineups. I'll try it, even if I've never heard of the title. Even if I'm not interested. They have, for Vault Comics, a title that is coming out, I believe. Oh, it's in the next month or two. I believe it's September or October. It's Vampire the Masquerade. I am familiar with the TTRPG and some of the video games in that same kind of like realm or universe. I didn't know it had a comic. I would love to read the comic. I want to check out the graphic novel. Let me give it a shot. Now, will I give it a shot at $20 for retail? No, absolutely not. But if I catch it on a sale, I 100% would like to check that out. I think that's phenomenal, and I'm excited to see that. I just, I want to wait. But I do think that Vault Comics will be someone to keep your eye on if maybe they get it through their head that they're going to have to come down on this price in some form or fashion, because it's just ridiculous. But as far as their catalog goes, it does seem like they're showing support for it, and I would like to see more of it, basically, to give a better indication and a better judgment on it. So yeah, that's it for Vault Comics. All right, guys, so this was the last video in the Compact Comics Comparison series. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for checking these out. I wanted to do this series to give people kind of a good idea of what they can expect from the compact comic formats from all these different publishers. And again, I mentioned it in other videos before, but this is by no means a 100% complete comprehensive list. Anything that you can think of that I forgot or left off here, feel free to leave it in the comments. Just something that the community can use to point themselves in the right direction, or maybe find themselves on the right path to picking up titles that they really want and enjoy. But yeah, this was just an overview that I had that I wanted to get out there to, like I said, let people know kind of what the compact format is, what they can expect from it, everything from price and value down to the size and paper quality, and also the support that we're getting from these publishers for these compact formats, and the catalog and library that they have full of the titles they've already released as of right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for supporting it. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. But if there's any other things that you can think of that you want to see me cover regarding Compact Comics, just let me know. I'm going to see you on the next one, guys. Peace.